About 2 weeks ago, I started having these strange sensations, these feelings in my chest, and felt like it was my heart, like right off the top. I knew it was my heart. And I felt a squeezing, like a squeezing, crushing feeling. And most of the time it was just like a moderate, but it was there. It was definitely felt like it enveloped my entire heart. It was just like squeezing it. Nothing else happened. It just stayed with me. And then it would fade away. And the next thing you know, I get up the next day or be doing whatever I'm doing, and there it is again. And it didn't matter if I was active or if I were just sitting around on a couch. It didn't matter. Nothing that I could put a finger on seemed to be what brought it on. So it lasted probably on and off for 2 days, very odd. Maybe a little bit longer. And then it just went away. So for almost a week, didn't feel anything. Felt normal. Went to the gym, worked out, felt fine. Then after Sunday, I felt it a couple times again, coming back. This time it seemed a little more persistent, like it lasted longer. Like it would last hours and hours. And I thought, something's going on here. I might be going to have a heart attack or something. Thought, you know what, my blood is probably too thick, my platelet count is probably too high. Haven't donated blood for quite a while, and I am on gear. So my red blood cell count is going to be high. Maybe it's so high, the blood's so thick, it's placing a stress on my heart that maybe I could get away with when I was younger, even though younger, higher doses, much higher, but younger heart, maybe stronger heart. Maybe as I get older now, even the lower doses that I use or have been using, maybe it brought it on. One thing I did do is, the first time I felt this stuff, and I was convinced it was my heart, I stopped. No more test. No testosterone more. No testosterone injections from that point onwards. And to be very honest, one of the things about me is I use short esters. Not all the time, only really since I've been older. Sometimes I'll run with a longer, slower ester, and for long periods of time I won't. I'll switch up to a really short ester. And the reason that I do that is I think, well, I'm not going to get into details because I'm not here to instruct anybody on, my version or what I feel is any particular tactic or approach to how to arrange your testosterone cycle, even if it is a mild one. Legit TRT, I talk about that here, but I'm not trying to promote abuse. And I have abused in my lifetime quite a bit. When I say quite a bit, I'm getting off subject now, but I have to clarify, not like guys do today, not like typical gym rat in the gym that doesn't have half my size. 9 times out of 10, he's on more stuff than I've been on for quite a while, for many years. Anyway, you believe what you want to believe. But there's a way that I can do much less with shorter esters in totality, and I can get better results with that less. So, whenever something happens, a health issue at all, I stop. I get paranoid. I'm usually very careful, so I get paranoid and I stop because I don't want, if something happens to me, I don't want to exacerbate it by using more of the shit, especially if it's potentially the cause of the problem. Be it having been like a chronic exposure, a long period of time, or if it's a new thing, or whatever the case may be, or like my red blood cell count too high. So I stop. If I had to go under the knife or something unexpected, an emergency, I don't want to bleed out because I have so much blood. Anyway, So I had stopped and I didn't resume. But when the feelings came back, like I said, lasted longer period of time when it would come on. And I thought to myself, I'm going to have to go to the hospital. I'm going to have to get to the doctor and have this checked out. And it really started to bother me, and I was coming home from work, I think, Thursday night. And I'm feeling this tightness, and it's increasing. And next thing you know, it feels like somebody stabs me with just a pin in the heart, like 2, 3 times. 3 or 4 times. And it hurt, but it wasn't severe. Like I said, it just felt like a pin sticking you. But it was there, and it was dead in my heart. And then the sharp pain was gone. It was still just that crushing feeling. And of course that scared the living hell out of me. And I figured, I'm going to have a heart attack. I'm going to die. I'm probably going to die. And I had been going over all this stuff in my head and the stages that you go through when something like this happens. I guess most normal people just go right to the hospital, but I started to think about it, and I thought, what happens, if I drop dead? I don't have enough life insurance. I have life insurance, but I don't have enough life insurance, for instance, to pay this house off. So what happens to Val? Does she lose the house? Does she lose her home when I'm gone? Because I didn't have the foresight to have enough life insurance, in the case of an event like this could happen. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to ride this out. I'm going to eat enough aspirin. I'm going to try and thin my blood out as best as I can with that. And I'm going to turn up my insurance or open a whole new, policy for life insurance, and then I'll deal with this. Because if I deal with it beforehand, I don't know what it's going to turn into, but it's definitely going to be a matter of record. So I decided I'm going to get up tomorrow. I'm going to sort this out. I'm going to get on the internet. I'm going to find out what I can do, and I'm going to make something happen with that, before, if I can just last till then. So next morning I get up, and now there's a new wrinkle in it. Now I'm a little bit disoriented, and I feel a little bit dizzy, a little bit, and I still have this squeezing in my heart. So now I'm figuring I'm going to die. I'm going to have to go to the hospital now, because this is, I don't even know what's going on now. It's very serious. So I told her, I said, "Val, I got to go to the hospital." So we went to the hospital. I go in the emergency room. They asked me, what's going on? And I said, "I'm pretty sure I'm having a heart attack." So of course, right away, they rushed me in the back. I have people all over me. And they start a series of tests, EKG first, and then they go from there. And they draw a lot of blood, which I'm fine with, because I'm thinking, get the shit out of me. That's probably what it is. I need to be bled, get the blood out. But I was sure it was my heart. So I went through all kinds of stuff, and they couldn't find anything wrong with my heart. Meanwhile, they tried all kinds of stuff to ease my discomfort, the cramping or the squeezing of what I thought was my heart. And they tried this and they tried that, and medications and stuff for pain. And then they gave me a CAT scan of my brain, because they just want to make sure I hadn't had a stroke or anything. So they gave me a CAT scan with my brain, and they thoroughly checked me over. Meanwhile, this had faded away, gone, completely gone, from one thing or another, either from all the blood they continually were taking to run all these tests, or I don't know what. At one point, they even put some nitro cream on me, and that I could feel that opened everything up, of course. It's a huge vasodilator. Then they decided the most thorough thing that they can do is to lance open this artery in my wrist and lay me out to a table with my arm out to my side and run a wire all the way up this arm, and the arm's laid out straight to my heart. And watching on cameras, they can inject dye. and that dye's gonna, because I was sure I had an occlusion or I had some blockages or this from how much I abused my body over the many years with diet, how much red meat I ate. There was a time, I haven't eaten red meat in 2 years, but it might have been too late, because there was a time when I would eat a few pounds of red meat every single day for long, long periods of time, for a long time. So I figured, I probably got plaque and all kinds of other problems, and that's probably what it is. So they went in, they looked, I'm wide awake during the whole procedure. I'm watching on the screen. Cardiologist is talking to me, showing me what's going on. And no, he says, you don't even have any detectable plaque on any of these arteries, any of this. And he's shown it to me. Everything's clear. He said, there's only one place where there's any plaque built up, in that, he said, if I call it 10%, I'm being generous. He said, it's definitely, there's no occlusion, there's no restriction, nothing, everything's clear. And he showed me all around the heart. So when he finished, he took me back to the room, and they decided they're going to keep me overnight for observation, because you can have a stroke, or you can die, or you can have a heart attack from the procedure. So they're drawing blood then every hour. They draw some blood because they want to see. They're looking for this indicator in my blood to go down, released from my heart, because of the trauma they just put it through, and they just want to see that fade off, so that they know they're under duress or nothing's going on. It was just a little bit exacerbated from the procedure, and then they want to see that subsides and goes away. And at the same time, they have this inflatable tourniquet over my wrist, where they've opened this artery. It's a main artery, and they hold the air pressure on this thing for like 3 hours, which I didn't even know you could shut down the circulation basically pretty much for 3 hours, which they almost basically do. And my whole hand was purple, but they said it was fine, and it turned out to be fine. And then they begin to tap the air off little by little, every so often, and then by 3 hours, they take that thing off and they bandage you up, and they kept me overnight. And they couldn't find anything. Their conclusion was that it wasn't my heart, that it was something else. That maybe it could have been stress related, or it could have been something with my esophagus, or it could have been somehow. The closest thing I can figure is maybe I got air, or I somehow was getting air up under my rib cage, but I swear the stabbing part, it seems like heart. So I'm still not convinced. They're completely, entirely convinced, these 3 different cardiologists, that my heart's fine, there's nothing wrong with my heart, everything's good to go. And it wasn't a matter of something wrong with my heart or an event with my heart. It was something else, but not life-threatening. So I'm not sure if that's the correct conclusion. Pretty good scare. Now, is it my heart, or was it my heart? I still think it was, but maybe not. Everything I asked them, I said, at one point, one cardiologist, a heart surgeon, came in and he said to me, because they told me, you're going to consult with several of us before we do the procedure, because we want to make sure we're on the right track, so we want several opinions. That's how we operate here. So the first cardiologist I spoke with, he said to me, so do you use any steroids? And I said, yeah. And he goes, well, what do you use? What are you taking? I said, testosterone injections. And he went, no. Not testosterone. Testosterone is a hormone. I'm talking about steroids. And I'm like, nothing. He goes, nothing else? I said, no, nothing else, just the testosterone injection. So it kind of surprised me, but I just want to get on with it, and I put full trust in these guys. It's not like I'm there to ask all these sidebar questions about anything. I want to know right now what's going on, and I'm being honest. And they have my life in their hands, really. And a little while later, as I thought about it, another cardiologist came in to talk to me, and he said, I see here that you use testosterone injections. You take testosterone injections. I said, yes, sir. And I said, let me ask you something. I said, testosterone, it's an anabolic androgenic steroid, right? And he goes, well, we don't really consider it a steroid anymore. Not in our field, because it's you really can't do yourself any harm with it. You would really have to do a crazy amount. Now, this is exactly what he told me. This is 2 different heart surgeons that have this opinion. Now, I don't know that they would come out and go on Dr. Oz and tell the world that. That would be kind of irresponsible. But one-on-one in the real world, that's what they told me. And do I believe that? No, I don't believe that. I don't know how many people that they've dealt with that really have abused testosterone injections, which I haven't for a long time, many years. When I did, even, I was younger, and it wasn't, back then, what I consider to be borderline extreme. So I would only willing to go so far. I was not one of these guys ever that had to have more at all costs. That wasn't me. I was like, this is how far I'll go. There's a line drawn here, and I won't cross that line. I'll go this far, and if I can't do what I'm trying to do with that, then it's not for me. And that's how I've always been. Now, I'm a good responder. I grow very well and easily. Muscle, I got enormous, The pictures are out there, the video's out there if I ever get the other computer fixed. The magazine, shots of me in magazines. I was in Muscle Mag every other month for a 2-year period because I really liked Robert Kennedy. What a good guy. Tony Machinsky, another awesome guy. Johnny Fitness, great guy. Whole crew over there. So I had a really good relationship with those guys, and God knows why. They were always so nice to me, had me in there so frequently, but they were awesome. So the pictures are there. My biggest, I was over 300 pounds, like 307. At 280, I had abs. I wasn't shredded by any means, but I was literally as big as anybody gets. But I didn't, there was a line and I wouldn't cross, and that's why I really couldn't become some kind of famous pro bodybuilder and be competitive at that level, because I just really didn't want it badly enough to do the things that I would have probably had to do. I was in the right place in the right time. I had the physique, but I couldn't refine it and take it to where I needed to take it without, doing a little bit more and without committing more. And I wasn't that committed. I really didn't want it that bad. I just thought, yeah, I'll try it. And to tell you the truth, once I got closer to it and saw it, I really lost interest in, the shine wore off of it very quickly, and it really didn't, it wasn't for me. None of it, not just because of the gear, but because I just, the whole, I don't know, it just wasn't for me. So now, where does this leave me? Well, it leaves me now, I've been off for, 3 weeks. And not a lot of time, but I have no intention of going back on. I was off for 7 months when I had the slap tear, and I'm on video during that time in the tank top in my little home gym out in the garage right after, and I wasn't on anything then for 7 months, and I still had a decent physique and was a good size. So I'm gonna let it go, and I'm gonna come down, and I'm gonna see where I'm at naturally. I'll get tested. If I want to see how low I actually am, my own test levels. They've always come back when I've stopped, always. And personally, I've never used PCT. Never. I've never just done things because people said, oh, you need to do it. I did what made sense to me and what my experience revealed to be necessary. And I've never used PCT. Never. And I've always come back. Now, if I come back now at this age, like I said, just 2.5 years ago now, 3 years ago, I was off for that 7 month period, 8 months, 7 months, and I was fine. So, it's nice to be big. I'm not going to lie to you. I like it. There's just something about it I enjoy. It's my own body modification type of thing, if you will. But I don't want to die over it. So we're going to go like this for a while and see what happens. One more thing. It turns out that I have had a heart attack in my past. See, they can look on that EKG and somehow they can tell that you have had a heart attack. So what they did was I said, well, I've never been told this before. So was it a year ago, 10 years ago, a week ago? Is that what I've been going through now? So they went back and looked at my records as far back as I had them, as far back as the oldest EKGs they could find, and they said it's always been there. So that puts it to be about exactly the time I thought that I had one, and I've told people this story all over the place, jokingly, and I guess they thought I was exaggerating or something or telling a tale, but I think it was 2007 or 2006, I think 2007. I was benching with Jeff McVicker, and we were just, we started out just repping higher reps, and then we kind of had a little bit of a mano type of, trying to outdo each other and see who could push the most weight. So we started doing singles, doubles and singles with a lot of weight. We got to where we were just doing singles. We kept adding. We could have added a lot more if we'd started out just, with that in mind, rather than doing like how many reps we could do with 350 and shit. 315. So I had 315 on early on that night, and I'm repping it. And I come down, and all of a sudden, it felt like somebody took, this didn't feel like a pin stick. This felt like somebody took a freaking stake and hammered it in my heart like I was Count Dracula and they were trying to kill me or something. And it hit me hard and deep, and it was like, oh. And I stopped for a minute and paused at the bottom. And I was like, what the hell was that? And I waited, and I didn't feel it again. Felt nothing. So I pushed the weight up, didn't feel anything, came back down, good stretch, didn't feel anything. So I pushed again and just kept going. And it was never thought much beyond that other than to say that happened. And I didn't know what it was. I thought spasm or some shit. When you're younger, you think you're indestructible. Unconsciously, you just think that. And I really didn't think it was a heart attack, and not seriously. I had said, I thought I had a heart attack once when I was benching and thought it was funny, but there's nothing funny about a heart attack, but I thought it was funny because I really didn't think it was really a heart attack. But apparently it was. So that's another reason that when they seen that they went right to, give me the catheter, the cardiac, catheter up through my arm and into my heart, because that was a more thorough way of looking at it rather than just give me a stress test or something. So that even makes me think now, well, thanks for letting me know that. When you've seen the EKGs in the past, thanks for somebody pointing that out to me. And in fact, I wish I could have talked to the person that looked at my brain scan, because I would have liked to have said, hey, can you give me a heads up? Do you see some Alzheimer's there, and how much do you see? But it's not like they volunteer these things. They're looking for what they're looking for, and that's it. You kind of have to ask for more. But I wish I had thought at the time to find out who looked at this thing and to say, did you see any, give me a heads up. What's my brain looking like? Does it look like it's on its last leg, or what's going on up there? Anyway, that's it. Tomorrow I'll try and lift again for the first time since any of this, and I'll take it kind of easy and see how it goes. But it's quite disturbing. I'm not trying to, it's not really up to me now. Whatever harm I've done. It's not really up to me about how many years I have left or not, or don't have left, but I'd like to hang around longer for a lot of other reasons, but when you go through something like this and you really think it really is true that maybe you're going to die, like it's like at hand, then it really makes you evaluate where your life's gone and what you're doing and what you're accomplishing and if you're on the right path and what the real reasons are for you to be here. And it makes it very clear. So I'm making a lot of changes. So that's it. I'll keep you guys posted. I'll be back tomorrow. I have a lot of videos to make. I have a lot of stuff to say. There's a lot going on with Gorilla with the Cause too, and a lot of really cool stuff is going on. Some unbelievable stuff that's really good. But this was like, all that's for naught if I'm going to drop over dead, like anytime. But I guess that I'm okay for now. So we'll see where this goes.